if I can just add to that too, because it's interesting. One of the things we identified, again, the important thing is listening to our customers. And one of the, with their treasury processes, batch is a core part. The last thing a financial controller or treasurer wants is a one-for-one transactions on there. So we've, one of the things we've had to do is develop what we call a single debit multi-credit proposition to be able to bridge, and this is what I call what's going to be really important over these next 5 years, is we're going to have bridge services. But also some of these things actually need to be part of the landscape because they're actually well loved in terms of actually how our businesses operate. So, I think about this kind of next 5 years, given we're almost on the tip of 2025, which is frightening, and 2030 doesn't sound that far away, but is how we really start to explore these use cases for NPP and what does it mean in a treasury context? And it means something quite different than it does in a product designer for our customers. And if I can use the insurance segment, who wants to use it for claims processing, because in a disaster, we value our insurance the most when we can get that claim into our hands to repair the damage after a storm. So they've already been using NPP for some time now and part of that claims processing piece. And that's all about creating a wonderful customer experience piece here, which is a combination of the addressing issue that Katrina talked about, but also around that speed in terms of the urgency in that time of need for an insured party. But I think this is a bit too is where, how we continue to have these conversations. We work with our business customers to think about this is not just about what I used direct entry yesterday. Today I'm now using MPP and everything else remains the same. But it's about how do I think about those use cases that are going to really help my business, really adopt and adapt to the world of a really digitized world, but also around how am I going to get those productivity elements coming out of it through automating reconciliation, through being able to manage my liquidity better. And Matt, you talked about cash flow, and it's interesting. I might digress for a little second, Adrian, you can get me back on track. We did a lot of research about Pay2, which is the kind of the next overlay service using the real-time payments infrastructure. And we had a little bias, and our presumption was it's going to be such a great consumer experience for our billers out to their consumers that that's probably one of the key reasons they want to deliver and embrace Pay2. When we spoke to customers, and this was whether they were small business, mid-market, or in the more in the corporate institutional space, two common terms really came out. One, it supports my cash flow. And two, reconciliation. Is the fact that it's atomic reconciliation were two really big draw cards for customers thinking about Pay2. We weren't wrong without the benefit of the consumer experience piece, but it was an and piece. So I think, the basics which have always been there for every business. How do I run a much more productive business? How do I get certainty over my liquidity and my cash flow position? How do I engage with my suppliers and buyers and my customers to have good propositions? Because they're parts of a broader service. Those all remain true. Just the way they're going to get delivered using the real-time payments rail is going to transform because we have more choice as part of the infrastructure.